welcome back to my channel. My name is Lex, and today's video is a walk down memory lane. I got the idea for this video after seeing a coffee and conversation video by Sumi, where she showed one of the Barbies that she played with when she was younger. And before anybody checks their phone, that was me. I'm sorry. I'd also like to thank Sumi again for the shout out in that video, and I'm glad that she and so many other people enjoy the content that I make, and I hope you enjoy this video. Before we begin, I'd also like to make a quick little briefing, I guess. So the three main doll brands that I played with as a little kid were all owned by Mattel. All that I ever got. So this one is Top Model Summer. She came out in 2007, and I was about 4 or 5 years old when she came out. I was born in 2003, and I remember the day I got her. My Nonna, which is Italian grandmother, was watching me, and my mom came back from shopping, and she gave me this big box with the most prettiest item I've ever seen in it. And I remember being so excited and feeling like I was so grown up, because, you know, was my first Barbie. Now, she was loved, she still is loved, and she is not dressed in any of her original outfit. She is lovingly dressed in a very old Snow White doll dress and a Barbie movie necklace, and her makeup has kind of faded. Her hair isn't in the best condition, and the dress is kind of ripped at the back, but that's nothing a little sewing can't fix. And she's still very much loved. I played with her a lot for many, many years. I have thought about restoring her back to her original glory. I'm just not sure how I would go about that. I'm still trying to figure out how to make her hair look nicer, but this will be a journey for sure. I also like how she kind of mirrored how the original Barbie face mold looked. It's very similar, if you ask me. I hope that one day I can restore her back to her former glory, and maybe I'll share that in an Instagram post or community post if I ever do get around to do it. So let's wait and see. This was another Barbie doll that I received when I was very young. I could not tell you what make she was or where she came from exactly. This dress is actually from a playset that had dogs in it, and this is again a Barbie movie necklace. And I remember, I think this was the only like Barbie I had where she could sit down because her legs were articulated, and that's really it. There's no fancy story behind her. I do remember playing with her a lot, and I was very young when Downton Abbey came out, and sometimes my mom would watch it with me in the room, and I would play with my Barbies like it was Downton Abbey. And I remember this doll in specific was the one that I made like Violet Crawley, played by Maggie Smith, and oh boy, those are the days. I miss those days. Next up is Belle, who, this was when the Disney Princess dolls were still made by Mattel, I believe. I think now they're made by Hasbro, the same people who make My Little Pony. And this was a Belle doll. I don't remember if there were other princesses that did this. I'll have to look it up. But when you tapped on her necklace, which doesn't want to work anymore, she would start singing and her crown would light up and everything would look all nice and pretty. Unfortunately, she does not do that anymore. She looks pretty good for a doll that was played with quite a bit. I didn't like doodling on my dolls at all. I thought it ruined them, and I never gave them any haircuts because, again, I thought that would ruin them. What I did used to do though is, because a lot of the dolls came with those little plastic hairbrushes that didn't do anything, I would use a real hairbrush to do their hair. And I think I might do that for all of these when I'm done filming this, because everybody could use a little tender loving care. This was the only Ken doll that I ever really owned, and it belonged to my cousin Bianca first, and she was a teenager going into a teenager. She's quite a bit older than me. And we went over to her house and she said, "Oh, do you want these dolls that I don't play with anymore?" And I said, "Yes." And this is the only Ken doll, official Ken doll that I had, in the one of 2 boy dolls I ever had. And I have no clue where he's from, what set. I'm guessing he's from at least the late 90s, early 2000s, because that's when my cousin was young. And I have a bit of a funny story. So his pants would keep falling down all the time for years, and because the Velcro was out. And my Nona, she knew how to sew. So I asked her, I'm like, "Nona, could you please sew up his pants so they don't fall off?" She did that. The only problem is you can't get them off him now. Well, I wouldn't really consider it a problem. She fixed the problem of his pants falling down to start with, but my Nona passed away in March of 2021 from an illness. So when I see that stitch and I hold this doll, it's like, oh, Nona's still kind of there. The very first Monster High doll that I ever got, and I also have a trick on how you can tell it was one of the very first released. The very first Monster High doll I ever had was this one, whose name was Claudine, and she didn't come in this outfit. This is a trend with a lot of the dolls, aside from a few where they don't come in their original outfits. Anyway, Claudine Wolf was my favorite character in the web series, so I asked my parents for her in doll form. And she came with a pet, she came with a little diary, she came with her original clothes, which are long gone. And here's the trick on how you can tell she was first released. So the original Monster High dolls, and these also aren't her original hands, I'll get to that in a minute, their limbs could easily pop off the articulation. And it was so bad that Mattel would mail you spare hands to make up for the ones that came off. But the problem that they didn't solve until a little bit later was the shaky joints in the doll's articulation, because you can bend them at the knee and kind of twist them, not really. It's because of the rope mechanism that they used in the hips, and I'll put a picture of it somewhere on the screen. And that's what makes her wiggly, but I love her, wiggly and all. So the next doll was actually the very first ever After High doll that I ever got back in 2013, roughly. It was Christmas of that year. I was 10, and her name was Raven. She was based on the evil queen from Snow White, and I really like how they made her look. I love all the black and purple. Also her hair, I was the one who put that rubber band on. If the camera will focus on it, thank you. I was the one who put the rubber band in her hair, and I think if I took it out now it would go into her hair, so I'm just gonna kind of leave it there. She still has her original shoes, her original tights, which could use some fixing up. And I played with these dolls pretty much every day when I was a kid, as soon as I got home from school, essentially. So they have a lot of proof that they were played with. This is also not her original dress. This is from an old Monster High doll that I had. And I think it actually suits her nicer than the original outfit that she had. I think the purple is actually really close to the deep purple that they have in her hair. And I mentioned this earlier, but she was the doll that I kind of started that technique. They all came with these little flimsy, crappy, pardon my French, plastic brushes, and they never actually did anything for the doll's hair, just made it more tangled. So I somehow figured out, ooh, I'm gonna use a real brush on the doll's hair. And I think that's why her hair looks better after so many years because I would brush it so often. So she also has a special place in my heart, like my first Barbie and like the doll Julia gave me and the Ken doll that Nona fixed up. Many, many years of memories. So in Ever After High doll that we have is Cedar Wood, who was based off of Pinocchio. And a cool thing about her, on all her dolls, she has a wooden texture on her plastic to make her look more like a wooden puppet. And I always thought that was a really cool detail that they did. Sorry for my hand just being in the way. This is her original shoes, her original socks, her original dress, and I believe this was part of the Hat-tastic Tea Party set, and I have a few dolls from that set as I look into the box next to me where they are all currently staying. Cedar Wood was another doll that I really liked. She doesn't have her hat anymore, unfortunately, and her neck piece thing, the plastic for it to keep it in place, is gone, and she had these little cuffs on her gloves that are no longer there. But I think she was cute. And back to my Downton Abbey playing ideal from when I was a kid, she was always like the stubborn duchess who always wanted everybody to do things for her, and she was very ambitious and she wanted to like marry her daughters off. I remember playing with her a lot for that, kind of like Lady Tremaine from Cinderella that I ever owned. This was the second boy doll, Dexter Charming, who was in the book and in the show. He was one of the two sons of King Charming. And there was Darren Charming, who I don't think they ever made into a doll. If they did, I'll have to look. And Dexter Charming. And in the books and in the show, Dexter had a crush on Raven. So when I was a kid, I would always make them like king and queen together. And it was really cute, if I do say so myself. He came with glasses, but I didn't like how they looked on him, so those are long gone. And he looks fine. I don't know what else to say. He looks fine. He didn't have any long hair to brush. He also doesn't have the exact same body as a Ken doll. He's a lot slimmer, whereas Ken is a little bit more boxy. So I wonder if they just took a Ken doll and adjusted the measurements to it to make the boy dolls for this. Overall, he's fine. I had a lot of good memories with him too, since he was, like I said, one of the two boy dolls that I ever owned. One Bratz doll that I consistently played with, which was, this is Chloe, and her feet don't match. And I'm sure, and this is why my parents hated these dolls, when you pull off their feet, it's a peg, it's not like an actual foot. And my mom especially hated these things because she didn't like how you could just take off their feet and it wouldn't be a foot, it would be a peg. And these are also clothes that you could like snap on them. They weren't actual clothes. But I would play with her a lot. She needs some love. Her hair is a mess. That is a common theme in a lot of these old dolls. On the docket is Cerise Hood, who is an Ever After High doll based off of Little Red Riding Hood, and I think she's very pretty. I think her outfit is really nice. I like the dress, and the boots that she's wearing, I think they're actually coming back in style now. I've seen a few like these on my Instagram feed and sometimes online when I shop. And the cool thing about Cerise was she had the cape and her hair would go through this hole. And this was a doll where I kind of figured out another trick, because when I got her, her hair wouldn't stay in the cape. So I got an elastic band, tied up her hair so it would stay in the cape, and I feel like if I take it out, like it would fall into her hair because it's been in there for so long. Overall, I think she's really cute. I really like I said, how it all ties together, the design with the colors, and she's really pretty and a lot of good memories in my heart. So this little darling was Madeline Hatter. And she still has all of her, she has a little teapot purse, and her shoes are based on fine china, and they're really cute, and I love her polka dots. I love her overall look. So Madeline has a very special place in my heart. So I had a friend named Julia, and Julia was also really into Monster High, Ever After High, and one year for Christmas, she got a duplicate Madeline Hatter doll, and she remembered how much I really wanted one. So she brought the extra one with her to school, and the box that these dolls came in looked like storybooks. And when I got her, I was so excited. I thanked Julia a bunch. It was so sweet of her. And then, unfortunately, Julia got really sick, and she ended up passing away a week before her 13th birthday, and her funeral was actually on what would have been her 13th birthday. And I can't believe it's been 7 years since she passed, and that was my first real experience with death, I guess. And similar to the Ken doll and him being sewn up, and it's like Nona kind of being there. With this doll, it's kind of like Julia's back in a way, even though I know that they both can't. Next up is an operetta doll. Now, they were all based off of different movie characters, horror movie characters, and ghosts of some kind. So Claudine was supposed to be a werewolf. This one, she was supposed to be based off the Phantom of the Opera, and that would be more apparent if she was in her original clothes, but nope, not original. These boots were the original boots that Claudine wore, and one of my favorite part of some of these dolls were the shoes because they looked really funky and cool. She is wearing a dress that does not belong to her, a bracelet thing that also does not belong to her, and earrings that also do not belong to her. And she also had this really cool face marking, and I thought that was really cool. But this bow was all hers. She originally had like a 1950s themed dress, but I have no clue where that went after 12 years of being played with. 10, 12 years. And overall, I think her face is in pretty good shape. It could use a bit of a touch-up, but like I said, I'm gonna be trying to make these as pretty as I can after I'm done filming this. Another one is Elizabeth, who was a vampire, and she was dressed in a more Victorian style dress when I got her, but little me wanted to change her out of that and just give her purple everything. We have a dress that, again, is not hers, and shoes that are also not hers that are made to look like, I guess, a slushie is the best way to describe it. She was lots of fun too. Her bangs could use some love and care, but overall I think her condition isn't too bad aside from the hair, really. Still on Ever After High is one of my favorite dolls that I ever had as a kid, and this is Hat-tastic Tea Party Applewhite, and Applewhite was based off of Snow White. And in the web series, because Snow White had hair as black as ebony and Apple had blonde, one of the conflicts in the book and the web series was she had a hard time kind of like living in her mom's shadow, because, you know, if your mom's Snow White, you kind of have a big act to follow. And I really love her dress. She still has all of her original accessories on and her little tea hat, and I really love the makeup look that they went for her. That gold and that berry colored lipstick looks really nice, and she still has her original socks and her shoes. And like I mentioned, this is the cedar one. Their shoes were some of the best parts about them, never mind their outfits. And she still has her earrings, the plastic for her necklace is still in place, and so many memories. She was so cute. A lot of them are still so cute. Next up is Cupid. And she was actually a Monster High doll first, but Mattel decided to swap her over to Ever After High for some reason. And yes, she is based on Cupid, Eros, Aphrodite, that kind of Greek pantheon of love-based deities, if you will. And her shoes are actually a reference to Hermes. And I really like these shoes. I think they're cute, they're cool, and she also has her little Cupid heart and arrow headband. The little heart part of the arrow has unfortunately broken off. But I like her simple black heart earrings. I really like those. I might maybe get a pair myself one day. They're really cute. And overall, cute doll. After High dolls, we have Briar Rose, who was based on Sleeping Beauty. And you can see that in a lot of her rose motifs. And her name, Briar, I think it could have been a reference to the Disney version of Sleeping Beauty, because that's what the three fairies call Aurora. They call her Briar Rose, so I wonder if Briar's name was picked because of that. And unlike the other doll, she actually has an actual ponytail elastic in her hair instead of a rubber band to keep it all in place. This is not her original outfit. This belonged to an old Monster High doll that I had. Her shoes, though, are hers. I really like these shoes. I think they look funky in a good way, if the camera will focus on them. I'm also sorry for the odd quality. I'm filming this on my iPad. I don't have a fancy camera, so I have to make do with what I have. I don't think the silver works with the stripy outfit. I don't know what I was thinking as a kid. I think the outfit itself looks nice on her, just I wouldn't put the silver accessories with it. Next up on the docket is a doll that looks unconventional in the funniest possible way. So back to Monster High, here we have another Claudine that I got. Now before anybody asks, no, I did not cut her hair green. I didn't do any of that. She came like that many, many years ago. I think 13, 14 years ago now. And as is the running theme, her dress is not hers. This is from a different Monster High doll. And her shoes are not hers. This is from another Monster High doll. And her glove hands, the paint is chipping, her hair's a mess, her gold jewelry, the paint's all falling off. She could use a lot of tender loving care. So next up, grabbing dolls from a box to show to the camera, we have another Monster High doll here in the form of Caddy Noir, who was a black cat complete with a movable tail. And I don't think I mentioned it in the other dolls, but Monster High dolls had a slimmer body compared to Ever After High dolls, which had a more fuller, realistic looking body shape. Home stretch, we only have, I think, 3 left. And back to Ever After High, this little darling was Blondie Locks, based off Goldilocks. And I love the boots that she came with. I think they're really cute. But we see the 3 bears on her skirt, and I love her dress. It's so cute. And she still has her original bow that has a little bear on it. Same with her earrings. And I thought she was really cute. I still think she's cute. And I really like, this is how I imagine Goldilocks looks in a lot of adaptations. This kind of dress, that kind of bow. And I think they did a really good job at designing her. And like I said, she's cute. And again, a lot of good memories on Ever After High dolls. And I believe we only have 2 left looking at the box. We have Rosabella Beauty, who was based on Beauty, Belle, and the Beast. And we can see that they incorporated both into her design, Mattel, while they made her. We have the fake fur collar and the fake fur boots, because, you know, it's plastic. They didn't go the extra mile and put the fake fur on the boots in reference to the Beast. And I love all the rose motifs in her dress and her earrings. It's kind of hard to see, but they are actually a candle chandelier. And we have her little cute rose crown. She did have glasses, but I didn't like how they looked on her, so they are also long gone. And I really like how she looks. I think her outfit is cute. It's a nice reference to both Beauty and the Beast. And a lot of good memories. I feel like I'm saying that a lot. Next up on the list of childhood dolls is a doll that looked a little less princessy despite being technically a princess doll. And it was Poppy O'Hare, and she was based on Rapunzel. There were two dolls based on Rapunzel. Holly, which was a typical long hair, princessy, pretty doll with the long, pretty hair that you could braid and style. And then Poppy was the more rebellious version, I guess you could say. The final doll in this video is, by coincidence, the final doll that I ever got as a kid. And that was this Ever After High Ashlanella doll. And I got her when I was about 11, 12, when I was starting to outgrow dolls, so I didn't get to play with her as much as some of the other dolls that I had, but she was based on Cinderella, and I love how they gave her strawberry blonde hair. When I was a baby, I actually was born with strawberry blonde hair, but unfortunately it faded to brown. So I unfortunately do not have a feature with this doll anymore. But her shoes are my favorite part of this. I love the color they chose. It's such a pretty shade of red, and I love how the light bounces off of them. It just looks so nice and so pretty.
Well, that video was longer than I expected it to be. If you've watched the video thus far, go and grab yourself a cookie, because anybody who listens to me of all people rant for more than 5 minutes deserves it. If you'd like to see more of my content, please subscribe to Sweet Sister Tea, a channel full of random facts, lots of sparkles, and a love for dolls. If you'd like to support my channel, there is a link down below in the description. It is not expected, but it is always appreciated. Thank you so much again for watching. Thank you so much again to Sumi for the shout out, and until next time, bye!
There's a part of myself I'm missing. Now I got a lot to learn.